الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين. خير جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Alhamdulillah. As a speaker mentioned, this chair, yes, we are in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, and everyone should by now know how important these days are. So we know from the hadith of Rasulullah there are no days in which righteous deeds are more beloved to Allah than these 10 days. And one Sahabi asked, is it better than jihad? And the Rasulullah is better than jihad, except for the one who actually died in jihad. Subhanallah. There's another hadith, and this is from the Muslim, Sahih Muslim. There's another hadith in Al-Bazzar, is also authentic, that the Rasulullah said, the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are the best days of the world. The best days of the world. And the scholars discuss why it's the best. There are many, within those 10 days, there are 5 specifically the best days, the greatest days within that. So one of the ones that we have is happening tomorrow. Everyone knows what that is, yeah? Yawm al-Arafah. And then we have the one after, Yawm al-Nahar or Eid al-Adha. Now the scholars, majority of the scholars say Eid al-Adha is the greatest. That's the majority of the scholars. Some scholars say Yawm al-Arafah, like Ibn Taymiyyah and others, yeah? And then, so you have, so this is the order that I remember the scholars talking about. So the first is Yawm al-Nahar, Eid al-Adha, then is Yawm al-Arafah, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, then is Eid al-Fitr, then is the 3 days of Tashriq, and then after that then is Ashura, and then goes on. These are the kind of order that some of the scholars mentioned. And this is the reason why Yawm al-Nahar is the greatest. This is the hadith of Rasulullah in Sahih Bukhari, where Rasulullah said that this is the greatest day of Hajj, and it's from the greatest days. Yeah? Now, today's talk is about Yawm al-Arafah. Why was it called Arafah? There is no authentic narration from the Rasulullah, but there are narrations from the Salaf about it. And all of these are debatable. So one of the arguments is that Arafah means to know, the day to know, to be remembered. There are the narrations from some of the Salaf that mention that Adam salam and Hawa, they were sent down in Arafah. Some said they met together in Arafah, and that's when they became to know about their purpose. So those are the kind of, but these are not from the Rasulullah. There's no authentic narration. These are some derivations, ijtihad, from some of the Salaf. Yeah. Why is that place so special? Arafah is a place in Arabia. Yeah, it's a place, and this is where the Hujjaj will be coming tomorrow on Yawm al-Arafah, on the day of Arafah, the 9th day. They'll be coming here and they'll be gathering here, and one of the things that the Prophet said is Hajj Arafah, yeah? Hajj Arafah. The Hajj is Arafah. So without being in your Hajj, if you're not in Arafah, standing in Arafah, then your Hajj is invalid. I'll go into that more. Why is that the case? Now, that place, so there's a strong narration from Ahmad, Musnad. It's authenticated by some of the scholars. This is where Allah talks about this place. So Ibn Abbas said, the Rasulullah said, Allah took a covenant. So a covenant took place there. That's a famous one. Yeah? So Adam salam, so the loins of Adam salam, all of humankind were brought together, raised from the ruh, and they were asked, who's the Rabb? And they said, Allah, you are our Rabb. And that's why some of the scholars mention, from there we have a natural inclination to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the ruh was returned. Yeah? So this is all of mankind. That's why we say this happened in Arafah. All the souls of human beings were gathered there. Now, pre-Islamic Hajj. So the Hajj, so we said the Hajj is a manasik, the step by step that we follow the Ibrahim salam and Ismail. Yeah? And for those who have done Hajj, how many of you have done Hajj here? So at least, okay, alhamdulillah, quite a lot of brothers. So you know about the steps on Hajj, yeah? So we follow Ibrahim alayhi salam. But the Quraysh, they have distorted Hajj a lot. And there's discussion about how much of it have they distorted, and they distorted a lot. So one of the things was about Arafah. Now Arafah and the Sa'i, that going up and down, the Arabs did not do that. The Quraysh did not do that. So when they used to do Hajj, they used to call people to come and did the tawaf around the Kaaba, and they used to stand together and do some dhikr. There was also the belief that they can go. They believe that they came to the earth naked, so they need to go around the Kaaba naked. Yeah, so that's actually a part of the ritual. And that's what they used to do, go around the Kaaba naked as well. And these are the kind of things that was stopped. And the issue of Arafah came about. Now Arafah was something that Rasulullah said is part of the ritual. But some of the Arabs did not want this, because no, it doesn't make sense. And this is where Aisha radiallahu anha, she reports, the Quraysh and those who followed their religion, and they were called the Al-Hums. And they would stand in Muzdalifah and they would say, we are the people of Allah. So the Quraysh used to believe that they are the chosen people, they are the people they looked after the area. They're not going to move from this area. They're not going to go to Arafah. And then the Rasul made the issue that Hajj without Arafah, there is no Hajj. So the Qiyamah, that's one of the reasons that the Quraysh, the Rasul made it compulsory to be on the day of 9 of Dhul Hijjah in Arafah. So Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he said in one of his books, the day of Arafah is from the exclusive characteristics of our legislation. It's from Islam. Yeah, so he says it's something that is unique that Islam brought forth, and that is unlike Ashura. Ashura, people were doing the Arabs were doing Ashura before, but this one about Arafah, standing Arafah, that's something very unique that the Rasul brought forward in the rites of Hajj. Okay, the other thing that happened was the issue of fasting. Now, the Arabs, they used to fast on the Dhul Hijjah month. Dhul Hijjah day, they used to fast. But while they were doing pilgrimage, they didn't know whether to fast or not. And that became quite confusing. So that's why there's a narration from Maymuna, one of the al-Mu'mineen, radiallahu anha. She mentions the people doubted whether the Prophet ﷺ fasted on the day of Arafah or not. So I sent milk while he was standing in Arafah, and he drank the milk, and the people saw him. So in other ways, Rasulullah made it very clear that on Yawm al-Arafah, you don't fast. And that was for the people who were in pilgrimage, fasting. Yeah, doing the Hajj, the Hujjaj. But for everyone else, there is fasting. And we know the hadith that talks about the fasting that you get the sins the previous year and the coming year. Sins will be forgiven. Okay? The issue about, there's also why Allah makes, the scholars talk about why is it such an important day. Because Allah makes oath about the day of Arafah. So in the Quran, there are, I think, 2 verses. So the third verse of Surah Buruj and the third verse of Surah Al-Fajr. Yeah? And in these ones, so Allah says, one of them, I think most of you have memorized this here. وَشَاهِدٌ وَمَسْعُودٌ, by the witnessing day and by the witness day. So that is Surah Al-Buruj. And the Rasul said, the promised day is the day of resurrection. And the witness day, the day of Arafah, is the day of Arafah. And the witnessing day is the day of Friday. And in Surah Al-Fajr, again the third verse, the odd and by which Allah swore by the verse. Yeah? So the odd and the even. And Ibn Abbas said, so it's a narration of Ibn Abbas, he said the even is the day of Eid al-Adha, and the odd is the day of Arafah. So 10 of Dhul Hijjah is the day of Eid, and the 9th of Dhul Hijjah is the day of Arafah. Okay, I want you to remember 5 actions. I want to give 5 action points as you are listening here. Yeah? Action number 1. Try to fast on the Yawm al-Arafah. Try to fast tomorrow. So the first thing you should be doing is getting up for suhoor if you can. Yeah? So the reward is it expiates for the sins of the previous year and the coming year. And Imam An-Nawawi mentions in his sharh, in his commentary of Sahih Muslim, he mentions its meaning is that it expiates the sins of the one who fasts it for that of 2 years. The intent by that is of the minor sins, and this is similar to the expiation of the errors in wudu, for example. He says, and then he said, first, if there are no more minor sins, then it is hoped for a lessening of the major sins. The sins of the major sins are reduced. And if there are not to be that, then enough. Then it is through the raising of the ranks. Then Allah raises you. So Imam An-Nawawi gives that sharh on the understanding. So that's the first action. So you get up, you do your suhoor, or you make the intention, just have a glass of water if you need, but try to fast tomorrow. Yeah, make the fast and make the intention to fast. Yeah. Second action that you should remember, and that is takbir tashriq. Yeah. And that is after so tomorrow at Fajr time. So when you pray your Fajr, you do the takbir tashriq. Yeah, you know what that is, everyone? Yeah, so Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Now there is a narration, it is not authentic, but it is a statement of some of the scholars. They mentioned that this happened, the issue of tashriq happened at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam was about to slaughter his son, Ismail, yeah, then Allah replaced it with a ram, isn't it? Yeah? And then he said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And the angel said, La ilaha illallah. And then Ismail said, La ilaha illallah, lillahi alhamd. That's not authentic from the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That some scholars extracted it. And it's very likely, in my understanding, but I got it from one of the books. Let me see. It's called Shami, one of the Hanafi books. He mentions it there. I think my understanding came from Israeliyat. A lot of the stories that we come from their narration, so it's likely from that. Okay, so that's the second thing. So you do that. So you have to do that in every Fard Salah, so including your Eid, that you do that after your Salah, after your Fard Salah. You have to make that, and that according to the Ahnaf, it is wajib. You have to do it for Hanafis, and the Hanafis say because they use the ayat of the Quran that Allah has made the appointed days and the example of the Ijma' Sahaba. They say, like for example, Umar Khattab made sure that people did takbir tashriq, and because no one else said anything against it, it means it's wajib. So that's the Hanafi opinion, and then you must do it until the 12th day after Asr. Yeah. You should also do it for Eid as well. After the Eid prayer, you should do it. For the other scholars, for the other madhahib, it's Ahl Sunnah. So it is very highly recommended that you do it. Okay, the third action. So you got the first, you got the second, and the third action is doing constant dua and istighfar. Yeah. Aisha radiallahu anha said that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is no day on which Allah frees more people from the fire than the day of Arafah. He comes close and expresses his pride to the angels, saying, what do these people want? So when you see, if you look at how people do Hajj and they go on the day of Arafah, you see the amount of rahmah, isn't it? And there's a peak point, and you can see so many people. Yeah, and it is that day that Allah forgives more people than any other day. And it is that day that Allah is so happy that He tells His angels, look at this, my ibadis, look what they're doing. The worship, look what they're doing. It is that day that Shaitan gets so angry. It's one of the days he gets angry. And this is the hadith of Rasulullah as well, that there's no other day that Shaitan gets angry but that day, except that one is more greater, the Battle of Badr. In Battle of Badr he got more angry. But that's the second most thing that annoyed Iblis. So Imam An-Nawawi, he mentions what to do. This is the best day in the year for the supplicating. First, it befits a person to fully devote his efforts to making dhikr, dua, recitation of the Quran. He should supplicate with the different kinds of dua and read the different kinds of dhikr. He should supplicate for himself, his parents, relatives, teachers, companions, friends, loved ones, and anyone else who was good to him, and as well as all the Muslims. And let him be fully cautious for falling short in any of these, as this day cannot be made up. Yeah, so it's a day, it's one of the days that people say, if you deprive yourself, you truly have deprived yourself. It's not something you want to take lightly. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, in one of his books, he mentioned, the day of Arafah is the day of emancipation. Yeah? Free yourself from the fire. Allah sets free those who are upon the Mount Arafah and those from amongst the Muslims who are not present. First, the following day is the day of celebration and festivity for all Muslims, those who participate in Hajj and those who did not. They are all included and will be participants together. So the reward is for including those who do Hajj as well as outside of Hajj. So the istighfar is for everyone, whether they do Hajj or not. So there is a dua that, like in Ramadan, Laylatul Qadr night, there's a specific dua that is Aisha narrated from Rasulullah. Everyone knows that, yeah? Allahumma innaka afun tuhibbul afwa anni. There's a dua in that, there is no authentic narration on that is specifically for that. But scholars understand from the hadith of Rasulullah, where he said, this is an authentic hadith in Tirmidhi, there is no one worthy to worship Allah. Let me see. Okay, the best supplication, he says in this one. He knows that. But I'll give you the hadith. The best supplication is the one who made on the day of Arafah. So the best supplication is on the day of Arafah. And then he says, the best supplication ever said by myself and the previous prophets is this. Ya la ilaha illallah wahda la sharika la lahu wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. That thing is. So now the scholars say some say they're separate statements, but some say they're linked. So if it's linked, I mean that's a dua but most scholars say it's a dua you should say. It's a dua that you should memorize. It's the dua, no, that's not. It's hadith. The other narration mentioned about this dua, so there's a narration it's an authentic narration. They should say 100 times, that dua, 100 times, then you get 100 good rewards, and you reduce 100 bad rewards, and you get 10 slaves released. Yeah, so that's a hadith on that. So you do as much as you can. So some say you do as much as you can. So recite that as much as you can, 100 times minimum. Yeah. Okay, so that's the third action. Yeah, doing istighfar, a lot of dua. So that's your actions for tomorrow. I gave you 3 actions. First action was what? Second action was what? And third action? I'm glad. Okay, now the fourth action. There's 5 actions obviously, but the fourth action. Now what happened on Yawm al-Arafah at the time of Rasulullah? Remember, Rasulullah did one Hajj. There's one Hajj, that's the strongest opinion, one Hajj. Yeah, most scholars say that, yeah. And he did about 4 Umrah, but one Hajj. And that Hajj, the Yawm al-Arafah was on what day? It was on a Friday. And in that Friday, the khutbah. And that's what they call the farewell khutbah. He did a farewell khutbah in that. And that's why some scholars encourage that there's specific times that Allah reminds us of certain events. So when it comes to like the birth of Rasulullah, some people read about the life of Rasulullah. It's so different events like Hajj now, we think about Ibrahim Islam and Ismail. But the khutbah, some people say you should study the khutbah. So the fourth action is you should study that khutbah. They say that is one of the greatest khutbah given to mankind. There's over 100, think about so many people have not seen the Rasulullah ever. Some have not seen the Rasulullah. It's the first time. There's narrations that between 100 to 150,000 people came in that Hajj to listen, in that Yawm Arafah khutbah to listen. And he gave one of the most comprehensive khutbah that you will ever read, yeah? And it's still on today, in modern times, it applies very strongly. So he talked about a few things like the prohibition of riba. Riba is one of the greatest issues in today's economics, yeah? He talked about the prohibition of racism. He talked about the rights of women. So again, rights of women is one of the markers of a civilized society. In every society, the issue of women becomes one of the markers, yeah? He talked about Rasulullah talked about the warning us about the shaitan. He's lost us in the big actions, but now he's going to think on the little actions. So beware of the little actions. He said there will be no other prophets after me. And then he talked about you should fear the meeting with your Rabb. Just have that conscious all the time, meeting with your Rabb. There's so many other points he meant, but those are the things. That's one of the things that you should do. Take your time and read about the khutbah.
Love the verse that says, "Today I have put
Yes.
it into you."
That's what I was going to come on to. Fifth action, brothers. That's just right. So fifth action, reflection. And I want you to reflect on the fifth action, and that's about the ayat. There was an ayat, so it's a famous issue that took place with Umar Khattab and the Khalifa. The Khalifa Umar Khattab, he was approached by a Yahudi, a Jew, yeah, and a Jew said to him, "Did you know there's a day that there's an ayat in the Quran that talks about, and I would have made it the best day, yeah? There's a verse in your book which you recite. And if it had to come to us, the Jews would have taken it the best day, the day of Eid. They would have made it a day of Eid." And Umar Khattab said, what ayat are you talking about? And that's the ayat that Allah revealed in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 3. Al-Yawma al-akmaltu lakum dinakum وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمْ إِسْلَامَ دِينًا. And this is where Allah talks about the perfection of the deen. So that one, Umar Khattab said to the Yahudi, he knows exactly when it's revealed. It's revealed at Yawm al-Arafah. It's revealed when Rasulullah was giving his khutbah. And he knows exactly the day, which was Yawm al-Arafah. And this one here, it's an issue of reflection. There's a lot of the tafsir that talk about this ayah. This ayah is perfecting, is giving you a complete understanding of what the deen is about. The deen came to perfect. It has been perfected now. So that ayat, so Ibn Abbas in his tafsir, he talks about he has perfected everything. All of the rules have been perfected. All of the iman issues have been perfected. All of the ahkam have been perfected. And Ibn Kathir comments on that as well. He talks about, indeed, it's the biggest favor that Allah has given to mankind. You cannot, it's like turning away from it. Islam came, perfected everything. So so one of the questions that some of the people do ask is, how is it perfected when there's new issues come about? How does Islam deal with it? And some try to change Islam, to fit in the current situations. And that should not be the case. Islam came to change the current situation, to make it better. So how is that possible when there's a limited number of ayats, limited number of chapters? And this is because of something called ijtihad. So the scholars know that a lot of the meanings of the Quran is quite expansive. So we know that hadith of Rasulullah وَتِيتِ جَوَامِ وَقِلِمْ, that I have been given the jawami wal-kilim, the most comprehensive wordings. When he says certain things, he can mean so many things. And the scholars will extract from that different rulings, different understanding. This is called ijtihad. Long as it's based upon the evidence, that's sufficient. So it's still Islam. Islam can deal with any new issue that comes up. So whatever the issue that's come about, Islam has a way to deal with it. Unlike other people who think Islam is dust, and they try to change Islam in order to come to their understanding. Yeah, they try to change Islam to fit in their way of life, their way of life. And that's one of the things that we need to reflect. But sometimes we do ourselves. We change Islam to fit our own nafs, fit our own ways, and that's not how it should be. We should, and that's a sincerity that you ask yourself, how sincere are you to your deen? If something is an obligation, then you do it. If something is a mandub, then you try to do it. Something that is makruh, try to avoid it. This is the sincerity. You should question yourself. Otherwise, if you don't have that marker, then you're going to change. You're going to pick and choose about Islam. You should take Islam as it was revealed to you. Yeah. So that's the last thing. That's action 5 that brothers should do. That to make the best of tomorrow. So action number 1, fasting. Action number 2, action number 3, istighfar. Do as much. Action number 4, and action number 5, reflect upon this ayat. Okay.